congratulations on getting your work permit or employment authorization card, also referred to as an EAD. Now, since you have your work permit, it is very important that you do not lose it. Make sure to take a photo of the work permit and keep that on your phone. Some of our clients prefer to not carry the work permit with them in their day-to-day life and only have a photo with them on their phone. And we suggest that you only bring the work permit with you when you know you will need it. And otherwise store your work permit in a safe place at home. This is really important because it takes a while to get a new work permit if you lose it, and it can also be expensive, so it's very important that you don't lose it. So next topic is when you will have to renew your work permit. This work permit does not automatically go for the rest of the time that you need it. You will need to renew it. The date is shown on the card that says when the card expires, and so that is the date that your work permit expires. It's important to tell your lawyer or your paralegal that your card is going to expire ahead of time so that they have time to prepare and send out a new work permit renewal application. So we recommend that you tell your lawyer that your work permit is going to expire 6 months before the expiration date that is given on the card. Some other considerations to keep in mind. Unfortunately, you cannot travel outside of the US with your work permit. That's a common question and a common confusion, but unfortunately, you are still not able to travel outside of the US. But here are some things that you can do with your work permit and also your social security number, which comes with your work permit. You can work. You can apply for health insurance if you don't already have it. And if you have questions about that, you can let your lawyer know. You can apply for certain public benefits, especially if you have your work permit through asylum, a T visa, or U visa. Again, recommend talking to your social worker or your lawyer about benefits that you may not qualify for. It also becomes a lot easier to get a New York State ID and a driver's license or a learner's permit if you are interested. So we'll have more information about that further on. And then just to clarify, moving forward, when you do have your green card, your permanent residency, that is when you can travel outside of the US, not with your work permit. With your green card, again, you'll also be able to apply for federal financial aid for college and apply for immigration benefits for children or spouses. And then with citizenship, you'll be able to vote, travel outside of the United States without any time limits, apply for public benefits, and apply for immigration benefits for your siblings. So important to look at what you can do further on, but right now, again, you're not able to vote, do anything like travel that you can do with your green card or with citizenship. So normally with your work permit, if this is your first work permit, you will also get a social security card issued. If you did not receive a social security card with your work permit, please let your lawyer know. There are ways that you can go and pick up your work permit from a social security office, so they can give you more information on how to do that. But the social security card will look something like this photo, and it will say valid for work only with DHS authorization. So this social security card can be used in tandem with your work permit as you work and can help you get multiple benefits. So a social security number is a unique number that helps the government maintain a record of people who are in the country. You need a social security number to work, apply for health insurance and other benefits, get a New York State ID, open a bank account, enroll in college and receive scholarship money, and more. you cannot change your social security number. This will be your number for the rest of your life. So it's important that you do not share your number with other people. You can never lend your social security number to another person. It's only for you to use, and there can be serious problems if anyone else uses it. There are very strict rules and laws in this country that prohibit people from giving out their social security number to other people or using someone else's social security number. So it's important to keep both the number and the physical card in a safe place and not share it with people, even if they really need it. So one other thing that's important to go over is the labor rights that you have as if you start to work in New York City. There is a New York City Workers' Bill of Rights that you can go to at this link to review it more in depth, but you have the right to not experience discrimination at your job or when you're looking for a job. New York laws protect from discrimination based on color, national origin, status as a victim of domestic violence, age, sexual orientation, race, religion, marital status, and disability. You have the right to not be sexually harassed at work, and it's important to note that sexual harassment can include a request for sexual favors or conditions, or showing pictures, making comments that make you feel uncomfortable, or creating an environment that is hostile or threatening based on your sex or sexual orientation. You have the right to not be discriminated against based on the language you speak at work. If your boss does think English is necessary for the business, he or she must tell you when you start the job, and must tell you what will happen if you break the English only rule. But if you're speaking Spanish to a coworker, for example, during the job, you are not able to be, you have the right to not be discriminated against for that. You also have the right to not be discriminated against based on your immigration status. Your boss can require status when hiring you, but they cannot harass you in any way based on your status. And now you have the status with a work permit, so you are qualified to work in New York City and in this country. So that's important to know. Okay, next is minimum wage. This is also really important. It has recently changed. So you may have heard that minimum wage is $15, but as of the beginning of 2024, minimum wage in New York City is now $16. There are some exceptions to that, depending on if you're a tipped service employee or food service worker or something. So it's important to know what minimum wage is, and you should never be getting paid below minimum wage. And this also goes for people without work permits. You should never be getting paid below minimum wage. If you want more information about calculating your minimum wage, especially if it's, you know, one of those exceptions, you can go to this link and look up a specific minimum wage for the type of job you're looking at. So minimum wage also means that you cannot get paid less than $16 an hour, but if you work 40 hours in 1 week, any more hours over 40 hours that you work, you get overtime, which means you get paid minimum wage, your normal pay, and half of whatever your normal pay is. So you should be getting paid overtime for any hours that you work past 40 hours in 1 week. Sick days depend on your job, so it's important to ask your boss about that. And then there are some policies around New York State paid sick leave that you can look into at this link. Okay, now we'll talk about taxes. This is an important part of your responsibilities if you are working in this country, regardless of your immigration status. So what are taxes? They are money that the government collects to pay for public services such as maintaining the streets and public education. Why do I need to pay them? Everyone needs to pay taxes to contribute to public services. and every person who lives in a state has to pay taxes no matter what immigration status they have. People pay different amounts of taxes depending on their yearly income, if they have children, if they have a house, and other things. And the government returns tax money to people who make less than a certain quantity per year. The last day usually to give in your taxes is usually the 15th of April on the following year. For example, to file taxes for the year 2020, everyone should have filed their taxes by April 15th of 2021. There are a lot of resources for people who have questions regarding taxes. It's a really complicated process and no one is expecting you to understand all aspects of it on your own. There are a lot of organizations that help people file their taxes regardless of their immigration status. So you can visit any of these websites for help with your taxes, and you can also fill out the DoorNYC Legal Service Center form by indicating that you're interested in a non-immigration related legal advice. And if you have complicated questions regarding your taxes, this can be a good option for you. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, you now have the ability to a lot easier apply for a driver's license or a New York State ID. You can visit these links for more information about the process and to find DMV offices in New York City where you can go and get your New York State or driver's license identification card. This is another great form of photo identification. A lot of you may have New York City IDs, but this New York State ID is great because it's another form of photo identification that is from the federal government as opposed to just the city. So it's recognized more widely, and and we recommend that you get a New York State ID in addition to your work permit. Okay, selective service. So this is relevant only for individuals assigned male at birth who are between the ages of 18 and 26, or if you're under the age of 18, this is also important for you. If the U.S. enters a war and the government needs more soldiers, they can draft people who are registered in the selective service system. The U.S. does not have mandatory military service for all people. The government only uses the draft in rare occasions, and it has been a very long time since the government drafted soldiers, so this happening is very unlikely. The last time it happened was in 1973, so it's not something that the government tends to do. But if you are assigned male at birth and you are between the ages of 18 and 26, you must register for selective service. This is your responsibility as a Social Security number holder, and if you apply for future immigration benefits such as citizenship or your green card, or even applying for other aid in the future, they can see whether or not you have registered for selective service. So it's really important that you register. You may be automatically enrolled in selective service, but you may also have to register on your own. So to register, you can go to this link. So you can also check to see if you're already registered for selective service by visiting this link. If you're not, again, you need to register, and you're between the ages of 18 and 26, you do need to register. And again, this only applies to people who are assigned male at birth. If our office does receive your selective service registration card, which looks like this, we will let you know. This card is proof that you have registered, but you should also confirm your registration online. Another thing that may come up is jury duty. So jury duty is a process that we have in the United States where members of the public are randomly selected to serve on a jury. and help decide the outcomes of cases in court. So this is something that is a responsibility for all U.S. citizens, but unfortunately, sometimes the government gets confused and will send jury duty questionnaires to anyone who has a Social Security number and not necessarily just U.S. citizens. So if you receive a questionnaire in the mail, you can always ask your attorney about this, but it's really important that you do respond to a request like this. As you can see here, this is what the questions may look like. And it asks you if you are a citizen of the United States. It's important that you just mark that box as no, and you have to fill it out, mark that box as no, and return it to the sender when you receive something like this. It's important to respond, but again, you cannot serve on a jury, and there are strict rules about it. And it can look like you're pretending to be a U.S. citizen if you do serve on a jury. So very important to respond and just explain that you are not a U.S. citizen. Again, if you have any questions and this comes up for you, it may not come up, but if it does, you can always ask your lawyer about it to make sure you're doing everything that you need to be doing. If you have any more questions, please reach out to your case handler, or if you need any more information about any of the things that were discussed in this presentation, please reach out to your case handler. Thank you, and congratulations again on getting your work permit.